Renegade Immortal Episode 58. How good is Wang Lin to Donghua? He would even go against the Heavenly Dao to protect Donghua's family. Let's continue the story. After 30 years of cultivating and navigating life's complexities, Wang Lin finally comprehended his own artistic conception. Now, becoming a painting deity was within his reach. But before leaving, there was one more thing Wang Lin had to do. He had to settle his 30-year bond with Donghua's family. At that time, within a city, Donghua and other mortals were huddled together on a single bed. He stared blankly at the ceiling, his heart filled with longing for his family. He missed his wife, his son, and even more so, Uncle Wang. He reminisced about the good old days when he and his wife were deeply in love, and their son excelled in everything he did. Their family had lived a happy and peaceful life. He had even planned to stop letting Uncle Wang work in a few years, and had even thought about serving Uncle Wang and letting him enjoy his old age. In Donghua's heart, he had long regarded Wang Lin as his own family, but a sudden heavy snow changed everything completely. Every time he saw someone freeze to death, Donghua's heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. It wasn't that he was worried about these strangers, but that he was afraid that his wife would leave him forever in the same way. He also constantly worried about Wang Lin. In his eyes, Uncle Wang was already old, and he worried whether his body could withstand the harsh conditions. During this time, Donghua's son, Zheng Xiaoniu, had also tried to find his parents. But the Four-Sex Alliance's territory was too vast, and with his Qi condensation 7th level cultivation, he wouldn't receive any news. Time flew by. Donghua had lost track of how long the snow had been falling. Every morning when he woke up, he would find more people frozen to death. However, the wooden carving that Uncle Wang had given him emitted a warm aura in the cold. This gave him a glimmer of hope in his despair. After all, his wife also had a wooden carving from Uncle Wang. Nevertheless, as time passed and the snowstorm intensified, Donghua's heart was once again shrouded in despair. During this time, many mortals had secretly fled to neighboring countries. It was said that not only was there no snow there, but the sun was also shining brightly. One early morning, after Donghua woke up, he found that 5 more people around him had frozen to death. A moment later, a roar came from outside the house. "Everyone, get out here and work. Anyone who slacks off will be thrown out into the snow to freeze to death." Although the people were haggard and their eyes were blank, they all went outside for the sake of survival. Because only by staying alive would there be hope. Donghua was pulled up by a friendly man. Feeling the biting wind and snow outside, Donghua gritted his teeth and made up his mind. He had to escape and find his wife. Night fell. When everyone was asleep, Donghua quietly got up and opened the door, plunging headfirst into the wind and snow. Although there were mortal troops stationed around, they didn't care about the fleeing people, because only by staying here was there a slim chance of survival. Once they left and entered the blizzard, it would undoubtedly mean certain death. Meanwhile, Donghua braved the raging wind and snow, struggling to walk across the snowy plains. The world was vast, but there was no place for him. Suddenly, Donghua tripped over something and fell to the ground. He regained his senses and reached out to investigate. The thing that had tripped him was a frozen corpse. Donghua gasped in horror and stumbled backward. However, another corpse blocked his way. What was even more terrifying was that when he turned to look around, he saw countless corpses everywhere. This sight completely broke Donghua. He crouched down in the snow and sobbed helplessly. But at this moment, a warm hand patted Donghua on the head. Then, a familiar voice rang out. "Donghua, don't be afraid." Hearing this, Donghua turned around. A young man was standing behind him. The man looked much younger than Donghua, but his eyes held a hint of experience and wariness. That's right, he was Uncle Wang, whom Donghua had been thinking about. Looking at Uncle Wang, Donghua suddenly remembered the first time he had met him as a child. Uncle Wang at that time looked exactly the same as he did now. Donghua had a feeling that Uncle Wang, who had accompanied him as he grew up, was no ordinary person. He asked softly, "Uncle Wang, are you an immortal?" Wang Lin nodded and said with a smile, "Uncle Wang is here. Don't be afraid. Come on, I'll take you to your wife." With that, he tapped Donghua lightly between the eyebrows. Donghua immediately fell into a deep sleep. Wang Lin carried the sleeping Donghua 30,000 miles away to another mortal's settlement. Using the wooden carving he had given her, Wang Lin quickly found Donghua's wife. Afterward, he settled the couple at the border of a neighboring country and quietly left after leaving them a package. After a while, Donghua groggily opened his eyes. When he saw his wife beside him, he woke her up. The two immediately embraced. After their emotions calmed down, Donghua opened the package beside him. It was filled with money and valuables. Donghua said nothing. He took his wife's hand and bowed deeply in the direction of the capital. He kowtowed several times and murmured, "Uncle Wang, thank you." Then, Donghua took his wife and left the borders of the Four-Sex Alliance. Wang Lin watched them leave, his heart finally at ease. His divine sense had already detected a small town not far from the border. Donghua could live out the rest of his days in peace there. However, Donghua would never see his Uncle Wang again in this lifetime. Wang Lin took a risk to fight for the Yuding. Unexpectedly, he stumbled upon the five elements spirits. He realized that if the heaven-defying bead absorbed them, it would reach its full potential. Let's continue the story. After settling his 30-year karmic debt with Donghua's family, Wang Lin didn't rush into seclusion to undergo his nasal tribulation. Instead, he set his sights on the Yuding. The Yuding held great significance for the Four-Sex Alliance, representing both a disaster and a treasure. It was the only way for nascent soul cultivators to break through to the soul formation stage, besides the yin-yang umbrella. Reaching soul formation required absorbing a significant amount of immortal spiritual energy, which had become impossible since the ancient cultivation world's destruction. The Yuding was the only key to opening a passage to the immortal realm, making it a highly coveted object amongst cultivators. Wang Lin understood the risks involved, but decided to fight for the Yuding for the sake of his future cultivation. Having reached the false deity stage, he could sense the decaying state of the world's spiritual energy. While it didn't pose a problem for cultivators below nascent soul, those who reached that level would find their progress hindered, or even reversed, by its corrupting influence. Facing powerful cultivators at the 7th level of nascent soul head-on for the Yuding wasn't a wise choice. Therefore, Wang Lin strategically placed numerous restriction flags around the area and concealed himself within the snowy peaks, waiting for the opportune moment. A year passed, and the chance finally presented itself. As the heavy snow subsided, a massive crack appeared in the sky, releasing a torrent of dark blue cold air. A beautiful woman dressed in white emerged from the rift, and with a gesture, summoned countless snow region cultivators from cracks within the Four-Sex Alliance's territory. They all shared a chillingly cold demeanor. A murderous aura descended upon the Four-Sex Alliance, yet none of their cultivators appeared. Suddenly, 4 towering beams of light erupted from the 4 corners of their territory. Within each, countless illusory figures began to condense, transforming into 99 ancient barbarians clad in armor. The battle commenced with the barbarians' thunderous roars. The Four-Sex Alliance responded by dispatching a large number of cultivators. Despite their internal conflicts, they united against the common enemy, refusing to be remembered as cowards who couldn't defend their homeland. It was a battle to the death, destined to continue until one side was completely wiped out. The woman in white declared coldly, "This place will become our new pasture. Leave no one alive." She then manifested a 5-colored light from her hand, which transformed into 5 identical copies of herself. Hidden amongst the snowy peaks, Wang Lin observed the 5 women. He realized they weren't clones, but the 5 elements spirits, in disguise. To his surprise, each possessed the cultivation of mid-stage painting deity, a level beyond his current capabilities. However, Wang Lin saw an opportunity. If he absorbed the 5 elements spirits, his heaven-defying bead would reach its full potential. He chose to bide his time and wait for the opportune moment. The 5 women engaged in fierce battles with painting deity cultivators from the Four-Sex Alliance. On the ground, the surviving mortals cowered in fear, praying for their lives, witnessing a scene of destruction unlike any they'd seen before. The barbarians, giants as tall as mountains, effortlessly crushed snow region cultivators with each swing of their arms. Their attacks, though seemingly clumsy, carried the power of artistic conception. However, they were wary of the fire spirit's flames, which eventually consumed one of them. Strangely, the intense heat from the flames didn't seem to affect the surrounding wind and snow. As the battle raged, an old man from the snow region stepped forward. His primordial spirit left his body and merged with the icy plains, forming a colossal ice giant. Other snow region cultivators followed suit, summoning countless ice giants of their own. The Four-Sex Alliance cultivators finally understood why the snow region always unleashed days of heavy snowfall before their attacks. They relied on ice and snow as a medium for their techniques. The battlefield transformed into an even more gruesome spectacle with the arrival of the ice giants. Still, the woman in white remained a detached observer, her gaze fixated on the unfolding battle. She noticed that the Four-Sex Alliance had yet to deploy their late-stage nascent soul experts. If this was the extent of their forces, the Four-Sex Alliance still had a chance. Meanwhile, the Four-Sex Alliance's late-stage nascent soul experts studied the woman in white, speculating whether she was the legendary prodigy. Confirmation of her identity would trigger their immediate response. While observing the battle, Wang Lin noticed a peculiar phenomenon. Every fallen cultivator, regardless of their allegiance, turned into an ice sculpture upon touching the ground and sank into the snow, releasing a faint surge of magical energy. This discovery made him uneasy. He decided to investigate and used Earth Escape technique to burrow underground. After traveling a significant distance, he emerged into a massive cavern, seemingly without end. Every 1,000 feet within the cavern, an ice sculpture 10 feet tall stood guard. The sculptures had grotesque, distorted faces with human heads and snake bodies. Their positions seemed to follow a pattern. Will Wang Lin be able to seize the Yuding? Find out in the next episode.